it's a real story. Is this the most haunted museum on Earth? The truth is, more terrifying than you imagine. The air in the Forgotten Digs site was thick with dust and anticipation. Dr. Elena Carter, her hands, caked in ancient soil, felt a jolt of something primal as her trowel scraped against cold stone. Beneath centuries of earth lay a mask, intricately carved from a dark, unknown rock its surface, etched with symbols that pulsed with a faint, unsettling energy. As she lifted it, a deep chill, unrelated to the desert wind, settled into her bones. Back at the museum, curator Mr. Blake, a man of science and skepticism, dismissed her unease. End quote. Just a fascinating relic, Elena. A priceless find, end quote. But as the mask was placed in its display case, the grand, silent halls of the museum seemed to hold their breath. That night, security cameras captured fleeting shadows and heard whispers that seemed to emanate from nowhere, a silent, terrifying promise of the ancient evil. Awakened, the following morning brought an unexpected guest. An elderly man, his face a roadmap of time, introduced himself as Mr. Silas Thorne, claiming to be a descendant of the very civilization whose ruins Elena had unearthed. His eyes, ancient and knowing, fixed on the mask. End quote. That artifact, end quote, he rasped, his voice like dry leaves, end quote, is not a relic. It is a prison, and you have opened its door, end quote. He spoke of a curse, of an entity sealed away millennia ago, now stirring in its rocky cage. Elena, a woman of logic and reason, found it hard to believe, yet his conviction, and the growing sense of dread the mask inspired, chipped away at her skepticism. Later, alone with the artifact, she swore the mask's eyes, though carved from stone, were following her, gleaming with a malevolent intelligence. Sleep offered no escape. Elena plunged into a nightmare realm, a sprawling, suffocating darkness where disembodied whispers clawed at her mind, promising unimaginable horrors, and echoing with the screams of the damned. She awoke in a cold sweat, the oppressive image of the mask's watchful eyes seared into her vision. Her colleagues, busy with the museum and daily routine, brushed off her distress. End quote. Just stress, Elena. Big discovery, end quote. But the signs were undeniable. Strange, faint symbols were appearing on her skin, and a palpable, suffocating presence seemed to cling to her like a second skin. The museum, once a place of quiet reverence, now felt like a cage, and she was trapped within it with something ancient and hungry. The museum's tranquility shattered. Display cases vibrated, objects flew from their pedestals, and a priceless Roman bust exploded into dust with a sickening crack. A wave of bone-chilling cold swept through the halls, extinguishing the lights and plunging the museum into unnatural darkness. Elena rushed to the mask's display case. It was glowing with an eerie, internal light, the air around it thick with an almost tangible malevolence. Then a figure materialized from the shadows, a spectral form in ancient robes, its face contorted in agony. It was the ghost of an ancient priest, its voice a desperate, echoing plea. End quote. Banish the curse before it consumes all. End quote. A primal wave of panic washed over Elena. The nightmare was real. Reviewing the security footage was a chilling confirmation. The mask, undisturbed, had moved on its own. The strange symbols that now haunted Elena were also etched across the museum walls, appearing and disappearing in the blink of an eye. Driven by a desperate need for answers, she delved into the history of the lost civilization, poring over fragile texts and ancient tablets. She discovered that this culture did not just worship spirits, they sealed them away in powerful relics, using intricate rituals. The mask, it seemed, was one such prison. The more she learned, the more she felt the mask's influence, a subtle pressure on her mind, a whisper of dark thoughts. The line between reality and nightmare was blurring, and she was descending into the heart of the museum darkness. Her research led her to a section of the museum's oldest blueprints, detailing a hidden basement not marked on any modern map. Following the faded plans, Elena discovered a section of wall covered in the same unsettling glyphs as the mask. With trembling hands, she managed to open a hidden door, revealing a small, dusty chamber. Inside, illuminated by her flashlight, lay an ancient scroll, brittle with age. It told the story of the mask, not as a relic, but as a vessel, a cage for a malevolent entity of pure darkness. The scroll detailed how removing the mask from this chamber had broken the ancient seal, unleashing the spirit upon the world. The air in the chamber was heavy, thick with an ancient, pulsing energy, the heart of the museum terrifying power. The museum erupted into a symphony of terror. The curse was no longer a subtle influence, was a raging storm. Phantoms, born from the museum and collection and the unleashed spirit power, swarmed the halls, their forms shifting and grotesque, whispering promises of power and destruction. Elena's colleagues, their eyes vacant and their movements jerky, turned on her, their faces twisted into expressions of pure malice. They were no longer themselves, but puppets of the ancient evil. Elena knew she had to act. The scroll held the key. She had to return the mask, or what remained of its power, to the hidden chamber and perform the banishment ritual. The museum was a battlefield, and time was running out before the darkness consumed everything and everyone. Clutching the ancient scroll, Elena raced back to the hidden chamber, the museum horrors snapping at her heels. The air in the chamber crackled with malevolent energy. Following the scroll's instructions, she arranged strange stones and lit flickering candles, her voice trembling, as she began to recite the ancient incantations. The spirit, now a swirling vortex of shadows in the center of the chamber, roared in fury, lashing out with invisible tendrils. The museum itself seemed to groan and shudder around them. As Elena's voice rose in power, the mask in its display case back in the main hall began to vibrate violently. The ritual reached its climax, the incantations reaching a crescendo, and with a deafening crack, the mask shattered, releasing a final, blinding wave of darkness that surged towards Elena, engulfing her completely. Instead of oblivion, Elena found herself in a desolate, twisted reflection of the museum. The halls were endless, the displays grotesque parodies, and the air thick with the whispers of the damned. The spirit, now a towering, formless entity of pure darkness, loomed over her, its voice a chorus of screams and snarls. End quote. You sought knowledge, end quote. It hissed, end quote, and you have found your eternal prison, end quote. It revealed its true nature, not a sealed evil, but a guardian of the balance, disturbed by human arrogance and greed. The museum was its domain, and Elena was now its captive. Yet, amidst the despair, images of her family, their love and laughter flickered. In her mind, a surge of defiance coursed through her. She might be trapped, but she would not surrender.